Hi, everybody. I'm Brad with the Big Family Homestead here with a very, very special gentleman that a lot of you know, but if you do not know Tommy from the Off Grid Nation, say hi to Tommy, everybody.
Hi to Tommy, everybody.
Welcome, brother. How you been?
I'm good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good, and I gotta say that this was kind of an impromptu conversation. I saw your video this morning that kind of jarred me a little bit, to be honest, and I wanted to be able to share with my crowd some of the stuff that you were talking. So thank you for coming on very last second. I actually asked you only a couple hours ago if you'd come on, so thank you very much for being here. But
Well, I appreciate your people calling my people and getting us together.
well, there you go. They'll do lunch. My people call your people, and they can do lunch. But the world's on fire in terms of the political and financial world, and this is your bag. This is what you've been doing professionally for a long, long time. And I figured you could talk to us and first explain to us what is Brexit and why should I care?
Well, first off, let me say this. I'll start off with what is Brexit. It's kind of the terminology assigned by some group out in the ethos where Great Britain is exiting the EU, the European Union. So Brexit. If you remember several months ago, last year maybe, I don't remember the exact timing, but there was Grexit, the Greek exit. And I was watching the markets last night before I went to sleep, and I saw some complete disruptions. Now, we had a huge rise in the market yesterday, and I thought, you know what, this thing is rigged. There's no way they're going to let this go through. The globalists, the elitists, they're too powerful. They're going to rig this thing, and the Great Britain is not going to exit the Union. But then it immediately kind of turned on a dime, and they started counting the votes. And it was close, 52-48 roughly, 52% of the people voting wanted out of the European Union. And that sent reverberations throughout the world's economies, okay? So I was very surprised to see this happen, but there's also part of me that says, is this really the people rising up against the globalists and winning a battle, or is this exactly the way the powers that be want this to play out? Remember, the whole thing of the whole motto of the New World Order is order out of chaos. And I think a lot of us out here that are watching this video right now are in agreement that this house of cards is going to fall down sooner or later. And I think the people that are controlling the game know that it's just a matter of time. And maybe, at least there's part of me, call it the conspiracy theorist in me, that says maybe this is their excuse to be able to prick the bubble and let this thing fall apart. And they're going to point to the people of Great Britain and say, see, you guys started this. Because the last thing they want to do is take any credit for any of the bad that they've done or any of the wrong that they've done. So what does it mean to all of us, though? You asked that question. Well, it means a lot of things. And first off, I think we scored one, or at least I hope that we the people, scored one and punched these globalists right in the nose. But I also think that the people in charge of the European Union are going to punish the people of Great Britain as a warning, as a message for anyone else that's thinking about getting out of this thing to think long and hard about doing it, because look what happened to Great Britain. And the pound sterling, which is Great Britain's currency, is at a 31-year low right now. We've seen gold and silver spike up. At one point last night, it was up around $100 an ounce, gold was. Silver was up over $18 an ounce. And it's since pulled back. And we've seen stock markets around the world pull back 5, 6, 7, 8%. And many of them have now pared their losses down about half that. So the big question is this going to continue? Are we going to see a continued slide? Or are the world central banks going to get together and start buying the market? And I know Janet Yellen and all the world central bank leaders, I believe they're over in Sweden right now meeting. And I think they're going to do whatever it takes, meaning continue to buy, unless. Do you got to get that? Am I interrupting you, Brad?
No, I was actually just making sure I had it on vibrate because I didn't want to interrupt the conversation if somebody calls.
Oh, okay.
Wait, no jerk.
So the big question here is, are they going to get together and buy the stock market and prop it back up? Or is that just a show? And the whole idea here was to let this thing fall finally. And the answer is, I don't know. We can all sit here and speculate about what that means or what's going to happen. I guess we have to wait and see. But those of us that are in the know, I'm betting on the fact that regardless of whether this is the beginning of the end or not, this thing is going to play out at some point in the near future or intermediate term future, and we are going to see stock markets collapse and potentially societies start to collapse like we're seeing in Venezuela and some other economies around the world.
Now, a lot of people that I've been watching videos on have attributed a lot of this anti-European Union sentiment on the out-of-control immigration that's happening over there. And can you talk a little bit about that? Just because I think that you've got a lot of folks around the world who are nationalists. They believe that Germany should be for Germans. They believe that England should be for English. And you can have people coming in and out, but they've got to go through the right paths. And but largely, a lot of the people that are under 30 have no idea of that. That they view the world as just this one big pot that everybody's in. And I think that this might be some backlash in terms of an immigration policy that's just out of control.
Yeah, I think you could put me in that same group as being a nationalist, and that doesn't mean that I want to exclude everybody from my country or I want to be an isolationist. I just believe that, and I think Pastor Joe Fox did a pretty good video on this just recently. It went up, and he talked about this very thing. And I think Germany should be for Germans, and I think France should be for French, and Great Britain should be for English, and America for Americans, so on and so forth. And what the globalists seem to want to do is they want to take away and kind of erase all the borders and put us all into one big giant conglomerate and kind of mix us up in this potpourri and basically erase all national borders and all national sovereignty. That's the goal of the New World Order. They want to create the European bloc. They want to create the bloc of Americas or North America, and then look at the Asian bloc, and have basically three separate blocks and then merge them into one super, global one world order or New World Order. And so I think the immigration thing, I mean, look at what they're doing. The United States, in my opinion, and the intelligence agencies, and you can throw Israel in there, and several of the other European countries got together and created all these wars over in the Middle East and displaced all these people, and then went to leaders of countries and said, you have to take these people. And if I was Muslim, I wouldn't want to be forced to have to go live in another country. But hey, it looks pretty good if I have to go there and then they have to pay for me to be there. All of a sudden, it's not so bad. So again, this is going back down to they're creating a problem, which is the war or wars. And then they're trying to sway public sentiment and pushing these people in a direction that the people that live in these countries don't necessarily want this influx of immigrants. And then the people that are coming over, like we're seeing here in America with Mexicans and other South Americans coming in, they don't want to assimilate. And these Muslims don't appear to want to assimilate to any of the country's cultures that they're going to. And frankly, it's had a backlash, and I think it should. But the powers that be want to make you and I feel bad about the fact or call us racist, that we're not happy about that. So yeah, I think that had a lot to do with this. Hey, we're done. Basically, Brad, the people in Great Britain just basically came out and said, we are no longer going to allow an unelected in Brussels to tell us what we can and can't do, how we're going to do it, and then make us pay for the right of being in this union that really I don't think is benefiting us in any real way long term.
Now, going back to our financial situation, here in the United States, what does this look like on Monday? I mean, should I be concerned about making sure that I've got gas tanks topped off? Should I be, I know you're not legally allowed to give financial advice, and I'm not saying that, but I'm just kind of asking for a hypothetical thought.
Yeah. Okay. So disclaimer, nothing that I'm saying here is considered financial advice, and talk to any professional you want to talk to. I'm not that guy. But I will tell you this. I've been making sure that I have at least half a tank of gas in my gas tank at any given time, because it's been my opinion that this thing can unravel and may unravel at any time. If you've watched my channel for any period of time, you know that I said get your money out of the banks, get invested in hard assets, i.e. precious metals. I've been saying that for quite some time. So does that mean you have to run out today and take all your money out? Well, if you've been listening, you've been doing it right along. And so I've had a lot of calls from clients today that are just freaked out saying, what does this mean? What should I do? And I said, you don't have to worry. And basically it came down to this. I had a couple people say on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned do I need to be about this? And I said a 3, meaning keep an eye on it, but we've already prepared for this. Okay, we put preparations in place 6 months ago or a year ago. Were we early? Yes. Did we miss out on some potential profit between, when we started to prepare now? Yeah, maybe. But I don't think we're going to miss that when we see the other side of this. Is this, the beginning of the other side? Potentially. But I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know for sure. But I do know that if you don't take this as a wake-up call, if you haven't done any preparations up to this point, and you don't take this as a potential wake-up call, then I don't know what it's going to take. I mentioned this in my video. I had a guy from New York City that said, I don't know why you people, what are you preparing for? I'm not going to prepare to die. I'm not preparing to die. I'm preparing to live through what I believe is going to be a very tough time. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I have my suspicions. But I don't think that everybody's going to make it to the other side of this. I think it could get very ugly. And again, just look at Venezuela, what these people are doing down there. There are people starving to death that are literally killing cats and dogs on the street so they can eat.
It's sheer madness, man. And the thing that I have a hard time wrapping my head around is that there are actual people in positions of leadership that not only are allowing this to happen, but are encouraging it, and it's part of a bigger plan. And I have a hard time believing that there are people like that, but it's clear that these markets don't jump around the way they do just by accident. It's not an algorithm in a computer. There are people pushing these things and pushing these agendas, and I just wonder what they think that they're going to gain.
Well, and first off, there are algorithms in the computer. The high frequency traders do that. But yes, you're correct in this from the standpoint that there are people that are pulling the levers. There is an agenda afoot, and it's been going on for decades and decades now. You could even say it's been going on for hundreds of years, depending on how far you want to go back. But I think we're past the point of starting to stockpile food. If you don't have any, dang it, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go out and get it. Make sure you have your shelter in place. Make sure you have a plan to get out of your shelter. Make sure you have some cash on hand. Get your money out of the bank if you can. Not all of it, but be smart. If you have a lot of money, get some of that into precious metals, and you can start doing that now. If you got $100,000 that you can do this with, I'm not saying put all $100,000 in today, but put a good portion of it in today, and then look for another dip or another dip and another dip in dollar cost average in. Times are going to get tough, and this again may be the start of it. I'm not smart enough to be able to call that for sure, but I've been preparing for this for years. I had a smile on my face. I hate to say it. I had a smile on my face last night and this morning because I made a lot of money since this thing started to happen. It's paper money from the standpoint of I shorted the market. I mentioned that in some of my videos. When the market goes down, if you own a short position, it will go up in value. So the two biggest positions I have are silver and short. So far, it's been a pretty good day. I don't think I'm selling either at this point. I think I'm going to ride this out, see where it goes. But I have no idea what it's going to look like on Monday. And just realize that if the people in charge, the people in control, if they decide to turn this around, they'll turn it around. They have an unlimited printing press. But eventually, it's my belief that the market will take over. And when I say that, I mean there's going to be a country or an event or something that happens that they can't control and it's going to take on a life of its own. Or the powers that be decide that now's the time we want to bring this thing down, and they get on the short side of it. And the only reason why I think that maybe this is that point is you start, last couple of weeks you heard a lot about George Soros and some of these other mega billionaires that went out and put a bunch of money into short positions in gold. We may very well be looking at the fact, and they weren't quiet about that. A lot of financial channels reported on that. These people know when these things are going to happen, and they get out in front of it, and they make money on the way up and down. So this may be the start of a bigger fall.
Well, what would be some kind of trigger signs? More, I mean, this one's a pretty big red flag in my mind that it could be a global ripple that won't stop for a long time. But what things more on a statewide or our countrywide should I be looking for if I saw something happen in the market that was like, because I heard, now I don't quote me on this, I'm not the financial guy, but I heard that 401ks around the country are taking a really bad beating right now. And that to me would be an indicator. Are there other indicators that you would look for that would be, Katie, brace for impact? Here it comes.
Well, first off, 401ks are going to take a beating because they're all invested in mutual funds in most cases. And so if you're invested in mutual funds that are market-based, and they are, and the market goes down, 401ks are going to take a beating. The funny thing about that, though, is people generally don't react to that until after they get their statement. And that's usually the first or second week of the month following this closing month. So second week of July, people will start looking at their statements from June and go, So we may see a residual reaction, or at least that's what I've seen in the past. You see a residual reaction of people 2 weeks after an event and say, oh, gee, what do we need to do? It's like, no, that's old news. Or, no, that happened 2 weeks ago, but we're still in the thick of it. But to me, I think one of the things that you keep an eye out for is this whole bank holiday thing that I'm sure you've heard of before. Friday afternoon, and by the way, it's Friday afternoon, they say, there was a cyber attack, we're shutting down the bank systems, it'll all be cleared up by Monday, and then come Monday, the banks don't open again. So generally speaking, when you hear about a cyber attack, the prevailing wisdom is when you hear about that and say, oh, we're going to have a bank holiday, or the banks won't be open through the weekend and maybe Monday or Tuesday we'll reopen them. That's kind of where you want to start your clock. And a lot of experts, I'm using air quotes, people in the know say you have a 72-hour window to get your stuff in line and, put your bug out plan into effect. So if you hear that, at least if I hear that, life as I know it stops and I go into my plan. So if you don't have a plan, dang it, have a plan.
Absolutely. And I think I watched the same video that you did of Pastor Joe Fox. And one of the things, the really, I think, practical takeaways was, first of all, stay calm. Number one, have a plan. But also, too, don't go nuts, but, hey, top off the gas tank. Make sure you got some propane. Make sure that there's, you've got a food storage plan in place. And because a lot of this stuff is way outside our realm of control, so there's no reason to freak out about it as long as we're preparing.
But listen, man, you hit the nail on the head right there. And again, Pastor Joe Fox, I love watching his videos because he always has a way of kind of just bringing it down to a level that it doesn't make me feel nervous anymore. I'm not scared.
Right.
And here's the thing: when you prepare, you shouldn't be scared, right? That's why when these people are calling me saying, how freaked out do I need to be? I'm not freaked out at all. I've been preparing for this, what may be this exact moment. This isn't nearly as bad as I thought it would get or could get and may still get. And if it does continue to spiral downhill, I'm prepared for that to the extent that I can be. We can't be all things to all people. We can't do all things. We certainly can't control what's happening in Europe or here in the United States on a political or geopolitical basis. I can't control whether or not Nibiru is going to come into our solar system or if Yellowstone's going to erupt tomorrow. I can't control any of that. But I can top off my gas tank. I can have some cash out of the bank. I can buy some gold and silver. I can have some long-term food storage. And I can have a plan for me and my family, some guns, ammunitions, beans, bullets, Band-Aids. Those are things that are within my control. And hopefully within all your control out there, those are the things that we should be thinking about and doing.
Amen. And what a nice segue to the end of the interview. I got to tell you what, guys, if you do not know Tommy's channel, you need to pause this video right now, open up a new tab, and go to Off Grid Nation, and you are going to really appreciate all of the information that Tommy connects with. He connects the dots in a way that just makes it click for me. Click, just like that. And so go ahead and subscribe. And you know what? I'll tell you what, it's a double your money back guarantee. If you don't like it, I'll give you all the money that you paid. But anyway.
But Brad's going to put a link to my channel in the description and possibly even a card.
No. Yes, of course I am. But so check Tommy out, the Off Grid Nation. I'm really grateful that you took some time out to explain this because this seems like big stuff on the horizon. And most people, I think, get really intimidated when they're talking about, financial stuff, number one, but especially on a global level. And so I'm very grateful that you have taken some time to just basically explain the nuts and bolts of this.
Hey, listen, everybody's got their opinion on it. This is just one guy's opinion. You take it for what it's worth, or leave it on the curb. But definitely heed the warning. If nothing else, heed the warning that this system that we live in is very fragile, and it doesn't have to take much to send this thing over the edge, because we're teetering on the edge, in my opinion. And insurance is a smart idea. Brad, you talk about insurance all the time. Having a little bit of insurance. The last thing I want to do is look at my little kids starving or crying because they're so dang hungry and say, gee, I could have done this, but I chose not to.
Yeah, it's practical stuff. Daily 101. Go get some beans from the store, for crying out loud, people. So I'm Brad with the Big Family Homestead, and this is Tommy from the Off Grid Nation. Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Have an amazing day.